Canada celebrates 50 years on the throne with a tour of her largest realm. Through every region of the country, a series of special events to reinforce the historic ties between Canada and its monarchy, and between the Canadian people and this monarch.
The Queen's Golden Jubilee.
Slightly darker color today as she's arrived at the University of British Columbia to greet those people who've been waiting there and to collect the brightly colored flowers.
Exactly. Terry Malewski had it right when he says that's your ticket. You can almost be assured of at least some eye contact and a few kind words from the Queen if you have your bouquet at the ready. Again, we were talking about those breaks from official protocol. Some children that were invited to come from behind the fenced-off area to deliver their flowers in person to the Queen, who accepts them, of course, very graciously.
Herb Dhaliwal standing with the group there, the minister responsible for British Columbia. And of course, Premier Campbell, who has been everywhere, it seems, with the Queen.
Yes, he has.
Sort of certainly greeting her in Victoria, at the hockey game with her last night.
Now, today is also the day that a new session of the British Columbia Legislature opens in Victoria, but obviously the Premier is not there with the other ministers because it is his official duty to accompany the Queen for this royal visit. There she is, meeting the President of the University of British Columbia, Dr. Martha Piper.
For all of the various people who are involved in the visit, for the officials of the university, this is an important moment, and she shakes many hands over the course
Yes, she does.
of a visit, but she does know usually ahead of time who she's going to meet, and often that's the genesis of the conversation that she may have when she does meet them. Slightly more formal presentation of flowers for the Queen. A group of young girls.
Now, these are the Musqueam dancers and drummers and performers that we were referring to earlier. The university is built on Musqueam land. They have their reserve very close to the university area, and they perform at many, many local events and also right across the country. Traditional paddle song and warrior dance. Now, these, of course, are dances that are passed on from generation to generation, and we get a peek of the mini dancers, you know, that are just starting out, some of their first performances, obviously. Some young members of the Musqueam band making a presentation to the Queen. It's a doll.
Mm-hmm. In traditional dress. And having been welcomed with that dance, drumming, she'll now make her way toward the stage past another group of dancers.
Now, these are Nora Pickett's Eire Born Irish dancers. I mean, it conjures images of river dance or Lord of the Dance style. Now, these are top dancers from the Nora Pickett Irish Dance Academy of Richmond and of North Vancouver, so a local group. Some of these dancers have also come from Basel and Zurich, Switzerland. So every one of these airborne dance members that travel internationally from Canada, they've achieved a championship level of Irish dance. Now, this particular group, they literally set the stage on fire. They were touring with Natalie McMaster and her band when they toured with her for 5 concerts in Canada in October of 2001. I mean, Natalie certainly has her own fire and her own energy, you know, but that combined with these dancers, the crowds loved it. And the Queen seems to have enjoyed it as well.
Yes, I was going to say, she seems to have enjoyed that as well. These are West African master musicians, the Masabo Culture Company. Dizzying and athletic.
It is. The multicultural festivities continue. Now, this is a Strathcona Chinese dance company. Performers from the Vancouver Academy of Dance. These dancers have performed virtually all around the world, in the United Kingdom as well, China, France, Germany, Greece, the Netherlands, Eastern Europe. Of course, the traditional dancing lion. This is very familiar, of course, in Vancouver for the Chinese New Year celebrations. I just keep thinking as I'm watching this, Alison, thank goodness it didn't rain. It's held off.
A real showcase of the many cultures in Canada, but particularly, of course, in Vancouver, and a wonderful way too in some of these shots to get a glimpse of the campus at the University of British Columbia.
Yes, it's a beautiful campus, and of course, as we're getting into the fall season as well, the leaves in the background are beginning to turn colors, and it is a gorgeous showcase. And the Queen has referred very affectionately to her, as you say, 6 visits now to the Vancouver area, and saying how much she enjoys the multiculturalism of this area.
On the occasion of this Golden Jubilee, I would ask Her Majesty to unveil a special bronze book, which is being prepared. It represents literacy and learning and Your Majesty's enormous contribution to their advancement throughout her reign. It will be on permanent display in the Golden Jubilee room of the Irvin K. Barber Learning Center. Your Majesty.
So, a bronze book in honor of the Golden Jubilee, as Premier Cameron pointed out, to signify her interest in learning and literacy. You know, it's interesting as we watch this happen, Queen Elizabeth and her sister, Princess Margaret, were educated at home. They didn't attend school the way Prince Harry, Prince William, and Prince Charles has. It was a very different kind of education for them as young royals. But of course, she is, of course, an educated woman. As you can hear, she speaks French fluently.
French, yes.
And of course, spends a lot of her time reading, particularly government documents and things, but was well schooled in history and constitutional matters to prepare her for the job.
Well, the bronze book sculpture will serve as a reminder for generations to come at the UBC campus of her legacy.
Now, these bright young dancers are from the Peggy Peat School of Dance in Maple Ridge, near Vancouver.
Not far from the city. Yeah, they also perform at many events here in the Vancouver area and across the country as well. But definitely Energy Plus. This particular performance is called Let the People Dance.
Now, I should say that the Queen is also quite a dancer.
Well,
When they holiday at Balmoral, they hold regular Scottish dances. And the Queen Mother was a particularly enthusiastic dancer, but the Queen also dances.
Chibi Taiko. This is the first children's taiko. It's a Japanese drumming ensemble formed in Canada, and it's one of few such groups in North America. Taiko, of course, is this form of drumming, and chibi in Japanese means little kids.
Wonderful presentation from Chibi Taiko.
They actually had a
Young
workshop
people-
to make their own drums.
Moving around the world now,
Yes.
the Gamelan Gita Asmara. This was a group that founded at UBC in 1996. They perform the traditional and contemporary music from Bali.
Now, there is some significance to the piece they've chosen to perform here today as well. The music for today's performance is the same as would have been played for Balinese royalty in the days of old. So the tradition continues. Official bows in honor of the Queen.
Well, and of course, you know, you can hear the cheers in the background. Apart from all of the history and the tradition, of course, which the Queen represents, to many people, too, she's still just a celebrity.
I really enjoyed the moment when Premier Campbell was speaking, and that moment with the smiles between her and Martha Piper as well, when you just see her ask a little question and the grin comes onto her face. It's really a nice departure from the formalities of the occasion as well.
Now, I should correct myself because I talked earlier about brownies. Of course, these are Girl Guides.
Yes.
And I knew they were Girl Guides. I just had my age group wrong.
Right.
And they are carrying flags representing 140 different nations. And it was in 1937 that the Queen herself enrolled as a Girl Guide, as a young princess, and became the patrol leader, and they called it of the first Buckingham Palace Guide Company.
Wow. Accepting more flowers from the Girl Guides.
Of course, guiding began in the UK just after the turn of the century in 1909, and came to Canada not long after that. But across the country now, they boast 176,000 members, with units in most communities. Were you a Girl Guide?
I never was. Oh, sure, you had to bring that up, didn't you? Were you?
No. I lived too far from town.
I had some other excuse. I don't remember what it was at the time, but.
Well, as the Queen now accepts those last few bouquets of flowers at the University of British Columbia and prepares to leave the university campus, we are too going to take our leave from our live coverage of this event, watching the Queen as she goes. This, of